I never thought I'd be back here. Not like this, after 3 years in America, after walking that high school graduation stage. I'm back in Lagos, Nigeria, back in my father's house. Why? Because image is everything. Because no daughter of mine will chase clothes over legacy. Because Chief Chetta, my father, the great businessman, thinks ambition should wear a suit, not silk. So here I am, enrolled in SS3, the final year of secondary school, like nothing ever happened. Like the last 3 years of growth and independence were just a long vacation. The funny thing? The first 3 weeks back weren't bad. New school, new faces, polite classmates, decent teachers. I survived. I adjusted, but deep down, I knew it. This wasn't the life I wanted. Because I, Isabella, have no interest in leading my father's business as CEO. I'm a designer. I don't see profit margins. I see fabric lines. I don't hear board meetings. I hear runway music. And no matter how many uniforms they throw on me, this dream isn't going away. That night, I wrote those exact words in my diary, closed it, took a breath, let the silence sit. Then I turned off the light and told myself, Week 4 in school, be kind, and I meant it.
The night before my first day at Crown Builders School, I sat in the living room with my mom. Our house wasn't much, small, quiet, and nothing close to the world I was about to enter, but it was home. Crown Builders wasn't just any school, it was the kind of place rich kids went, children of CEOs, politicians, people with names that opened doors. I knew that. Everyone knew that. My mom turned off the TV and looked at me. Chuka, when you get there tomorrow, don't let anyone make you feel less, she said. You belong there, scholarship or not. Just carry yourself with respect. I didn't say anything at first. I was still trying to picture what it would feel like walking into a school where I had nothing in common with 90% of the students. You're not going there to impress anyone. My mom continued, just be focused, be calm, and don't ever look down on where you're coming from. I nodded. It wasn't the first time she said something like that, but this time, it hit deeper. Maybe because I knew things were about to change. Truth is, I was nervous. Crown Builders was a different world, but I had worked hard to get in, and even if I didn't have the name, the money, or the lifestyle, I had me. That had to count for something.
On the day of the assembly, when Chuka was introduced to the school, I didn't pay much attention. He was just another face in the crowd, a new student on scholarship. Nothing unusual, or so I thought. Guess what? As we left the assembly ground, Kamsi leaned in and whispered like she had breaking news, that boy, Chuka, he doesn't look like he came here to blend in. I laughed a little. I mean, seriously? But she wasn't done. I won't be surprised if this is Mirabelle's parents pulling strings again. If their daughter can't shine, they'll find someone else who can. Just not you. That part made me stop. Not because I didn't expect it, but because I'd heard it too many times before. In this school, everything is a game, and someone's always playing to win.
Break time on my first day in school, I was sitting quietly, still getting a feel of the place. I hadn't even unwrapped the snack I got when someone walked over. Chuka, right? The new guy. I looked at her. I didn't know who she was, but I nodded. I'm Mirabelle. Just thought to welcome you before people start building stories around you. That line caught me off guard. I didn't really know what to say, so I just said thanks. She asked where I was from and gave me a quick rundown of how things worked in the school, who to avoid, which teacher liked forming too much, that sort of thing. Wasn't a long conversation, but it was enough to make me feel less out of place. I didn't expect anyone to approach me, but Mirabelle did, and somehow, I felt like I already had one foot in. Maybe she was just curious, or maybe she liked being the first to say, I knew him before the rest. Either way, Mirabelle became the first familiar face in that unfamiliar place.
I honestly thought Kamsi was just being dramatic. She has a flair for conspiracy theories, especially when it involves Mirabelle and anything that might threaten her so-called Queen of SS3 status. But then, during break, I saw it with my own eyes. Mirabelle, yes, Miss Untouchable herself was talking to Chuka, smiling, laughing, like they were already classmates from childhood. It wasn't just casual. Not with Mirabelle, that girl barely says hi to people, and now she's suddenly buddy-buddy with the new scholarship boy. Nah, I didn't say anything to Kamsi. I didn't need to. She looked at me, I looked at her, and we both knew. Our suspicion just upgraded to fact. Something was definitely up. A few days passed, and I still hadn't had any real interaction with Chuka. No hi, no excuse me, not even a nod. And honestly, I didn't mind. But then came the debate day, the very day everything changed. Angela, our usual class champion for debates, was absent. Nobody knew why. The teacher needed someone to step in, and guess whose name came up first? Chuka. I was in the corner like, wait, what? Before I knew it, the teacher was already asking him to come forward. And just like that, something in me refused. I couldn't just watch the new scholarship boy take the spotlight like that. So I did what any self-respecting queen bee would do. I stood up and made my case. I told the teacher I could handle it, that I had experience, that I was confident. Okay, maybe I stretched the truth a bit. Chuka looked at me, not with anger or confusion, just that calm, unreadable face of his. But there was something in his eyes, like, you sure about this? In my mind, I scoffed, please, know your place. And then, the disaster happened. I took the lead, opened my mouth, and somehow forgot half of what I had planned to say. I stuttered, jumped points, called our opponents the opposition opportunity. Don't ask me what that means, I still don't know. It was embarrassing, and the worst part, I saw Chuka looking down, not in mockery, but like he felt sorry for me. That made it worse. Maybe I should have let him take the lead. Maybe I should have just supported, but I didn't.
I was literally this close to being picked as lead speaker that day. The teacher had looked straight at me. You know that moment when your name is already forming on someone's lips? Yeah, that one. Then out of nowhere, Isabella, yes. That Isabella just stood up like it was her birthright. She didn't even wait. Just walked up and started talking, convincing the teacher with that kind of smile rich kids wear when they always get what they want. And guess what? It worked. In my mind, I was like, nah wah, you've not even said hi to me since I resumed. Now you're hijacking my spot? But I kept quiet. I didn't even argue. I sat back and watched. I mean, let's be honest, she looked confident. Good posture, voice loud and clear. Everything was ticking, until it wasn't. 2 minutes into the debate, she stumbled, forgetting her points, repeating herself, and mispronouncing a word that made the class chuckle. Still, she pushed on, proud and unshaken. When she passed me, our eyes met. Maybe there was respect, or maybe it was nothing, but something changed that day. For her, maybe for me too. After that whole debate embarrassment, Mirabelle pulled me aside. She was talking about Isabella, how she always wants to be the center of everything, how she thinks she's the girl, like the school revolves around her or something. I just nodded, didn't say much. But deep down, I couldn't lie to myself. There was something about Isabella that stuck with me. Maybe it was the way she owned the stage, even if she messed up. Or maybe it was the pride she carried, that kind of silent fire. She was annoying, yes, but interesting. Meanwhile, Mirabelle and I don't even know how it happened. We just started talking more. She was funny, blunt, and always had gist. We clicked easily like two people who had known each other way before now. If there was a first friend I made in that school, it was her.
A few days after the debate brouhaha, I saw him at a cafe, probably waiting for someone. Anyway, I told myself, just say it and go, Isabella. Be mature. So I walked up to him and said, so, I guess I owe you an apology or maybe a thank you. Whichever comes first. He looked up at me, one side of his mouth lifting like he knew I was nervous but trying to act like I wasn't. Honestly, I expected him to act cocky or rub it in, but he didn't. He just smiled, and in that moment, it felt normal, like we were finally meeting properly, without all the noise. I won't lie, That was the first time I saw Chuka beyond the scholarship boy, beyond the quiet stares. And it wasn't as annoying as I expected. In fact, it was kind of interesting. Turning 18 was supposed to feel magical, like I was finally stepping into a new phase, stepping out of my parents' shadow, but what actually happened? Let's just say it was more disaster movie than coming of age fairy tale. I planned the whole thing down to the last detail, a night party, soft lighting, a classy guest list, my classmates, my father's guests as well, and a surprise twist. I wanted to quietly showcase some of my designs. Nothing too loud, just a few of my pieces, styled on mannequins, displayed beautifully in a corner of the venue, a little taste of the world I was dreaming of. Chuka was there, looking good too. I noticed he kept glancing at the display. I didn't ask what he thought, didn't want to seem eager. But then, they walked in, my parents. I should have known the evening was too quiet, too perfect. My dad's eyes locked on the display, and before I could even open my mouth, he said, "What is this nonsense, Isabella? You're making a mockery of us in front of the guests?" Right there, in front of everybody. Then my mom followed up with something like, "We agreed you can sew for yourself, but this is not your future. Take it down now." My jaw clenched so tight, I thought I'd break a tooth. People were watching, my classmates, guests, even Chuka, and in that moment, I didn't feel like the brilliant fashion designer I dreamed of becoming. I felt like a little girl being scolded at her own party. So I did what any girl with a bruised ego and a spotlight on her would do. I exploded. Not with screaming, but with that dangerous kind of quiet. You know, the kind where your voice is calm, but your words are soaked in hurt. I told them I was tired of being boxed in, that this was my work, my party, and my life. Then I left. Just like that, the party ended, but the storm inside me, that had only just begun.
I didn't expect the night to turn out like that. When Isabella invited me, I figured it would be the usual music, soft lights, drinks that taste like juice but cost like wine. The setup outside their house was clean and classy, the kind of thing you see in magazines. I found a quiet spot and just watched everything unfold. Then I noticed the display. Mannequins, many of them styled in outfits I knew I hadn't seen anywhere before. There was something bold about the designs. Sharp edges, thoughtful lines. It didn't feel like something borrowed or bought. It felt personal. That's when I realized she made them. I hadn't heard Isabella talk about designing in school, not once. But looking at those pieces, it wasn't a hobby. It was a statement, and I was impressed. I was still trying to process it when everything shifted. Her parents arrived. The atmosphere changed. A few whispers here and there, then voices, not loud, but sharp enough to cut through the night. Isabella didn't argue. She just responded calm, controlled, like someone tired of holding back. Then she walked away. No drama, no shouting, just her walking off into the darkness, like the party suddenly didn't matter anymore. I stood there for a while, couldn't move, couldn't pretend it didn't bother me. I didn't know her that well, but in that moment, I felt for her. Maybe it was the way she handled it, or maybe it was because I've seen moments like that too, when it feels like your dream doesn't fit the world you were born into. Either way, that night stayed with me, quietly, deeply. The weekend had been loud, not because of noise, but because of whispers. People had opinions, theories, hot takes, all from one party. By Monday, you'd think it would have died down. But no, the minute Isabella stepped into class, the atmosphere shifted. She didn't say a word, just walked in like nothing had happened, like her father hadn't embarrassed her in front of half the city. She went straight to her seat, dropped her bag, opened her notebook, and started writing. No fake smiles, no eye contact, just calm, too calm. But calm never lasts long in a place like this. Mirabelle came in 5 minutes later, late as usual, loud as always. The second she saw Isabella, I'd already tell, something was coming. She stopped right by the door, flipped her hair unnecessarily, and said to nobody in particular, "Some people throw parties to show class. Others use it to show crisis." A few people laughed. Not real laughter. The nervous, shallow kind that says, I'm not bold enough to say it. But I'll laugh so no one thinks I'm next. I kept my head down. But Mirabelle wasn't done. She turned to me. Chuka, you were there, right? What did it feel like standing beside mannequins dressed in frustration? I sighed, shook my head a little, and gave her a look. Mirabelle, don't do that, I said. She didn't deserve what happened, and you know it. Was just saying. She cut in. No, I said, you were just being petty, and it's not a good look on you. That was when Isabella looked up. She didn't even look at Mirabelle. She just said, calmly, I don't wrestle with pigs. I might get dirty and they will enjoy it. Then she went back to writing like nothing happened. Dead silence. Mirabelle froze for half a second, scoffed, and turned away. No comeback, no backup. And just like that, she walked out, alone. I glanced at Isabella again, and for the first time, I didn't just see a girl who loved fashion. I saw a girl who knew exactly who she was, and didn't need a single apology for it.
I stayed back during break. Didn't feel like hearing my name tossed between lips like it was cheap gum. Half the class was outside, talking, laughing, pretending like the scene from earlier hadn't happened. But I knew how it worked. Let a girl have one dramatic moment and suddenly everyone's an expert on her life. Then Chuka showed up. He didn't barge in or come with some grand I'm here to fix things energy. Just walked over quietly and sat next to me like someone who wasn't sure if he was welcome. I just came to check on you, he said, almost like he was testing the words as they came out. And to say I'm sorry. About earlier, about Mirabelle, I looked up at him slowly, keeping my expression calm. You're not the one who ran her mouth. I know, he replied, but still, I was there. I didn't like what she said. It wasn't fair. I just wanted you to know that. There was a pause, then I said it, maybe more honestly than I'd planned. Look, you're my friend Chuka, and I don't have a problem with you mingling with Mirabelle or whoever else you want. That's your circle. He blinked, surprised. I saw it. He wasn't expecting me to call him my friend. That one word hit him harder than the rest of the sentence. But I wasn't done. Chuka, you shouldn't even be having conversations with people like that around me. His lips parted slightly, like he wanted to respond, but he didn't, and honestly, there was nothing more to say. He gave a small nod. I get it, he said quietly. I really do. Then he walked off, and for a moment, I just stared at my desk, trying not to feel the 100 thoughts rushing through my chest. Friendship with boundaries. It's not easy, but right now, it's all I can afford.
The thing about secondary school, news travels faster than common sense. By the time I walked through the school gate that morning, I already felt the eyes, whispering, smirking, acting like they knew something I didn't. I didn't need a prophet to guess where it came from. Apparently, someone saw me and Isabella talking yesterday, and by talking, I mean literally just sitting side by side like normal people. And somehow, that was enough to spark a rumor that we were a thing. It spread fast, too fast. From what I heard, it started with one of Cora's friends. Maybe she saw us during break. I don't even remember the moment clearly. It was nothing serious. But somehow, by the end of the day, people were already pairing us up like a school project. And today, Isabella didn't show up. Her seat stayed empty all morning. Not even a backpack or a note, just space. It made everything worse. Some people claimed she was hiding from the drama. Others said her parents found out and transferred her immediately. One even swore she broke down crying after school yesterday. I didn't even see her after last period. It was all noise, and people were loving it. But the one thing I couldn't shake was Mirabelle. We're cool, always have been. So if this really started with her group, I didn't get it. She never mentioned anything, just smiles like always. But now, I wasn't so sure what those smiles meant. She didn't try to stop the gossip. If anything, it looked like she helped spread it. And that part, it threw me off. Isabella didn't deserve all this, not just for staying next to me. And I couldn't help but wonder what she must be thinking right now, or feeling, because the Isabella I saw yesterday Yeah, she carried herself like nothing could touch her, but something told me, deep down, this wouldn't just roll off her shoulders. Especially not like this.
I honestly still don't know how Chuka managed to get my home address, but there I was, that evening, back home with my father after another long, pointless business meeting. I didn't want to go, obviously, but when you are the daughter of Chief Cheta, I don't feel like is not an option. So yes, that was why I missed school, not that anyone would believe that. I had just changed into something more comfortable when the intercom buzzed. One of the estate security men said someone was at the gate asking for me, and that someone was Chuka. My heart did a weird thing. Now, you need to understand, my parents are very particular about who I associate with, especially when it comes to people who show up uninvited. Friends are approved, visits are planned, and boys? Oh, my God, boys are a completely different matter. But strangely enough, my dad didn't flip out. Instead, he sent our driver to bring Chuka in, and he, my dad, the same man who interrogates my female friends, suddenly became interested, eager even. He actually said, "Let's see who this young man is and why he's asking for you." I didn't know whether to laugh or panic.
The driver didn't say much, just pulled up, called my name, and told me to get in. Me? I was still trying to figure out how my simple visit to check on a friend had turned into an Uber ride into the lion's den. Isabella's estate was the kind you only see in movies or campaign billboards. High gates, uniformed security, quiet roads, and that heavy silence that told you money lived here. I should have backed out. I should have said, "No thanks. I'll come another day," but here I was, in the back seat of a car headed to meet her dad. I didn't even have a plan, just this strange, restless urge to see her, maybe make sure she was okay, maybe apologize again for everything, even though I didn't really know what I'd done. When we arrived, the driver opened the door for me. The house? Massive, warm lights, art on the walls, the kind of silence that made every footstep feel loud. And then, there he was, her father, Chief Cheta. There are difficult exams. Then there's meeting a Nigerian billionaire father who's just been told that his daughter's male classmate came to the house to check on her. That's not an exam. That's judgment day. Chief Cheta didn't even offer a smile, just looked at me like I was a maths question with no solution. "You came to see Isabella," he said. Not a question, a statement, a subtle accusation. "Yes, sir," replied. "Your classmates?" "Yes, sir." "And what was your reason for this visit?" "She wasn't in school today, sir." "I got worried." "Worried," he echoed, as if I'd just confessed to witchcraft. He looked over at Isabella, who was sitting quietly. "Isabella," he said without turning, "have you ever mentioned this boy?" Silence. He turned back to me. "You know, I run a company with over 300 staff. Every single person is documented, accountable, and must give reasons for all actions." He leaned back. "So tell me, Chuka, what do your parents do?" I already knew this was a background check disguised as small talk. "My dad is a carpenter, and my mum is a trader." He nodded slightly, then asked, "And you decided to come here because you were concerned about a girl?" "Yes, sir." He chuckled. "When I was your age, I was concerned about my final year results. Girls were fine where they were." I didn't respond. I couldn't tell if that was a joke or another jab. "Have you visited any other girl's house before?" he asked. "No, sir." "Why start with mine?" This man was not letting me breathe. "I didn't plan to," I admitted. "I just didn't expect her to be absent without a word." "You must be a very emotional young man." At that point, I wasn't sure if I should say thank you or start crying. "You see," he continued, "my daughter is here on an academic goal. I don't welcome distractions, especially unannounced ones who show up at my house after one day of absence. Sir, with all due respect, it was just odd that she missed school without any explanation." "She's not like that." Chief Cheta narrowed his eyes. "So you're saying you know her routine that well?" I froze. Isabella broke in before I could think of an answer. "Dad, of all the people who know me, I miss school without telling even Kamsi, and one person comes to check if I'm okay. That's the one you're interrogating. It was a business meeting. You dragged me across town without warning, and you knew I hated going. That's why I missed school. He turned to her calmly. And that's a reason for a boy to visit you at home? Isabella didn't answer. He turned back to me. I'm still watching you, Chuka, he said. And somehow, I didn't know if that was a compliment, a threat, or both. He then told Isabella to get me a drink and instructed the driver to take me home, back to my father's house. I figured he only did that to know where I lived, and maybe, to remind me where I belong. I sensed drama, the kind I wasn't built for, the kind that belonged to the rich, not boys like me. Isabella? She was right in the center of it. My phone buzzed. Don't let the driver take you to your house. No explanation, just that single line from Isabella. That man, Chief Cheta, already looked like someone who could go the extra mile just to prove a point. And now, Isabella's message, it confirmed everything I was starting to fear, drama. Immediately, my thoughts scattered. Does Isabella need help from her own parents? Should I distance myself from her? Am I getting myself into something I can't easily walk out of?